all these races will be presented at some point in time. And this is what I was shown with the Celeste experience from 16, where the disclosure of all things, and that's not just the contact of races, but that's what space really is. That's what this place really is, the firmament above. That's disclosure on all fronts and freeing humanity again, fully and completely. That's where this goes. You could say that is one of the inevitable event markers where everything is revealed again. And so you're sort of getting this through a lot of different, you call it the art of war.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in for another inspired conversation. I know many of you have been looking forward to this. This is a man who sort of entered the scene like a rising comet, if you will. All of a sudden, he was everywhere, and you saw him on huge podcasts. You saw him on Gaia. For those of you who are on Iconic, you might have seen him in the brilliant four-part series, The Great Unknown. I'm talking about someone who's dedicated his life to experiencing out of body journeys, teaching others, and telling the world what he sees, where we live in, what this realm is, and everything in between. Please welcome with me Darius J. Wright. It's so good to see you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm
It's a
excited to be on the show with you.
Hey, it's a great pleasure to have you. As I said, you've been one of the most suggested guests on our show. I'm so glad this is working out. I know it's very early for you.
Mm.
You're in Australia, but you look awake and fresh, brother. So,
Yeah,
um,
good. Yeah.
with that being said, I know many people know you and some might not. When they Google you or when they look you up on the platforms, you talk a lot about out of body experiences, and this is a very trending, popular subject right now. I think there's a momentum. So Darius, where did this start? Where did this journey start for you? What was your first experience? Was it consciously initiated? Was it an accident? How did that start for you?
So the out of body stuff has
Yeah,
always
the out of body experiences, yes.
mm, has always been with me since a child. Um, Now, as a child, I had no idea what it was. I was doing these things, but then opening up spaces, seeing entities, and then out of fear of that, completely shut it down. So fear will, you could say, suppress abilities. And it wasn't until 16 years old is when I had my full blown out of body state taken out of the construct for the first time, and seeing in contact with a being called Celeste, which I've been in contact with her many times since then. And she showed me outside the construct how time works, basically where things are at that present time at the age of 16 to where things were going to be in my future. And ironically, too, actually, where I'm at right now, the place that I'm at, because I had to move, um, is the exact place of what she showed me I would be at the age that I'm at now. And so a lot of things have actually the path of that timeline has it's perfectly mirrored of everything that she was showing me. Now, from 16 onward, the sleep paralysis would happen spontaneously off and on, and I knew that I could get control over the state until I started to put practice and effort to get control over the state. This is where I started to at will shut down my body, enter sleep paralysis, leave my body every single time. And I've been doing that for a very long time. Yeah. So you when you're coming out of the body, you need to understand because a lot of people have this misconception when you come out of the body, it's airy fairy or the soul doesn't have physicality. It's not real. It's not more real than here. But the when you're out of your body, it's no different from a near death. Your soul is coming out. So with an out of body shuts down. You dip to a certain state, then the soul exit. When the soul leaves the body even dips down lower to a certain state. And I've had people observe me as I was doing this as well. Same thing when you die. Body dips down, soul leaves the body, etc. But the soul is very physical. It's very rare. It's hyper real, more real than here. And the only way to really understand that is because if you look at the scientifically, the light spectrum, the human brain could only access a certain portion of it. And
A very tiny portion.
Mm. It's supposed to be accessing more. This is where you go into I'll just use the term DNA because people to allow people to follow through with this. Because a lot of this science is when it comes to DNA, cells, and etc., the heart isn't necessarily 100% accurate. But let's just say DNA. So we have a double helix DNA. And so we're only using those two strands, which is only allowing us access to a very limited light spectrum. But you can measure the DNA in the body. They say 12 helix supposed to be 13, and that's perfectly mirrored off the construct design. They even measured within the brain that we have 13 dimensional structures within the brain, which is all connecting to this. So they limited the body to only access a small portion of all that is around us. So when you come out of the body, you're accessing everything. You're accessing the full spectrum of light again. You're accessing the full field of all things. And this is where you get access time, thought forms. It's more physical, more real than what you could ever experience here because of that, because you're just accessing more. Mm.
So if we can go back to this experience when you were 16, what was sort of your concept of the world at that time, your frame of mind, and how did you perceive this being Celeste when you met her? Like, what were your first realizations that happened sort of in this 16-year-old you?
So the first thing at 16, I wanted to remember it all again. So, be careful what you wish for when you say that, because then you also end up walking a very fine line here, while you're here. But I got to a certain point at 16 years old where at 16, I wasn't a 16-year-old because at the age of 13, I already understood the Federal Reserve banking system, how they do that, how the straw man, um, yeah, so 13
Sounds
to
very
14.
familiar.
Yeah, yeah. So so I knew how they were basically taking the human being and making it into a corporation, corpse, a dead entity. And so 13 looking up the difference between corporations, dead entities, and the living man and woman, which we are, which is untouchable, and how to disconnect and disassociate with those two systems. And so I was educating myself out on those topics, 13, 14, seeing the control structures that are taking place. And I won't go too deep into it, but then that led me into 16, where I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. I see what's going on. What is the point? Because if I don't get the answers to the actual point of this, then there's no purpose of me actually being here, because I could do more work on the other side than I could achieve here. You see? And so that night is when I was taken out. And the Celeste being was, I'll just call her, but she was the perfect balanced energy. And she came to me and just naked in a sense, but she wasn't wearing any clothes, but she was like this just perfect being. Yeah. She's the one that showed me, the first thing that she showed me was time. That was one of the first things that she told me. She was like, all right, this is how time works. And it looked like thin crystals of glass, crystals. Now, ironically, crystals is how you also store time and memory, and it's in water as well. She told me who I was, my name, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that I was that important." And not necessarily, I'm not saying that as like that's me. It's just she was showing me the importance of me in each and every soul in all creation. Because at that point I didn't understand the importance of myself, like why am I here? So she showed me the importance of your signature, your frequency. One properly attuned, one individual could is like a pebble in the river, or pebble in the pond that sends massive ripples, and it affects everybody to reunite their flame again. Um, so she was showing me that, making me understand that. I remember the first memory that I had too of creation, which is the first thought. Um, she showed me the construct, and the first time she showed me the construct, I didn't understand what it was. That was seeing it from the outside. She just showed me it in like this bubble form, and she showed me many of them. Like now I call it construct stacked on God shelves because I've seen it many times now. She showed me where this place was and where it was going to be in my future, which I've shared in the beginning. And what she told me, she said, now you could stay here. Now, this person I've known for a long time on the other side. It's just the memories return back to you of who they are. And she said, you could stay here, and you could stay here and you could do what you want. You don't have to return. And if I made the choice to stay, my body would have instantly died back on the bed. Um, and she said, or you could come back, but you're going to forget what I told you. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to forget anything. So as I returned back, I made the choice to come back because I understood that this experience was so temporary. The whole thing was very temporary because when I was there, it seemed like I was only here for seconds, the experience. Yeah. And I chose, I made the choice to come back. And then from that point, I did forget the things that she told me until I started to have multiple controlled out of body states, targeting the same things, reactivating the memories again, and seeing it through many times now. All the things that she showed me when I was 16 years old, because it wasn't yet time for me to do the work that I'm doing now, due to that. Yeah. So that's in
So,
short. I haven't won that deep on the Celeste experience. This is the deepest I actually opened up about that. Mm.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do think that almost everyone watching, I know that from our audience, from the many interactions, has had, sort of at a very young age, some very consequential, transformative experience. It might not have been the nature of your experience, but something that changes or changed the course of their lives and they can remember it. So when you kept or after this first experience, were you instructed on how to initiate the out of body experiences? Did you sort of come up with it yourself, or how did that work?
Okay, so I wasn't instructed. So the only thing I could say is that it was there was so souls come in here with imprinted information that gets decoded over time. And so that's sort of what happened. I was imprinted with information to be unpacked at a certain time based off where I was in my life. And it just so happened to be, like I said, 13 years old. I was awake to a lot of things that just after that experience, maybe around 17 years old, 18 years old, is when I was actually starting to unpack it all slowly over time because it would be way too much for me now. I wouldn't understand it at all if it just, you know. Um, but to go back to your original question, it was for me practicing the out of body state was based off, you could say, intuition, intuitive, me following my inner compass of guidance. And it just so happens to be that it worked out very successfully because it's also things that I've done in the past as well through through other experiences here within this construct too. So, it's like that information is already imprinted within the soul, imprinted within your body. And so you could naturally know all things. Like everybody right here, right now, has the ability to know all things. You're already the all knowing being of everything. You're just in forgetfulness of how to access that. And right now, like I said, with the light spectrum thing, all information is in we'll just call it the energetic field of all things. No different from, let's replace your physical body with a computer and the internet with the field of all things. So everybody has access to it. They just don't know where to look. And, that's getting in tune with your intuition and stuff. Mm.
It's interesting when I listen to you. My childhood experiences were similar, but of a different nature. Is that I frequently would, also in bed, by the way, make myself enter the field of all that is, like, everything and nothing, the source of all creation, if you will, which wasn't
Mm.
which there's no form. There's literally no form. There's just all that is energy, and that was my go-to place. It wasn't so everything that you described, I haven't seen those realms. Now, having experienced that over and over and teaching others, in terms of consistency, is it like, if you were to compare it, is it like somebody traveling to, let's just say, the same vacation destination and just exploring it more and deeper, or does it change over time, or how is that for you?
Okay, so the when you're coming out of your body, or I'll just say specifically when you're on the other side, it doesn't change. There's a foundation of creation that is constant. Now, the ever for changing things, which this is what a lot of people get stuck into when they experience this maybe once or twice, and this took me a long time to figure out myself, is when you are out of the body, the constantly changing variables are you accessing thought forms and potential time events. And that took me a long time to figure out what the hell I was seeing and how to navigate that correctly. Because when you come out, you're not only you're not only seeing what's taking place here. So I could, I've done many experiments with people writing numbers on a whiteboard for me between 1 to 9, 1 to 10, in 4 days straight, getting them 100% accurate. And I've also scaled that into workshops as well, where me showing people, okay, let's pick a number, and then everybody getting the number right in a group setting as well. So, so when you're seeing things take place in real time here, you're also seeing your thought forms, other people's thought forms, potentiality of time events as well. And all those merge into the same space. So you could see them physically while at the same time seeing the energetic field around that being as well. And this is where you could start to, you could say, predict certain time events within an individual field. And I've done it for myself. I've done it to personal people in my life as well. Those are the constantly changing things. Now, when you understand that, then you could actually step into the foundation. You can move beyond that. So you could start commanding, well, what are the stars? What is beyond here? Or actually just moving to that direction. And you'll start to see that everything has a very structured creation. Like everything's very, mm, it's everything's created, very
Mhm.
intelligently designed. So yeah, does that
Yeah,
help?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I love the exploration and hearing your vocabulary, right? Hearing the way that you put these thoughts into words because it's different than what I say or what other people say. One of the things, Darius, that has really sort of entered the zeitgeist in the last, let's say, since the beginning of the millennium, but especially in the last years, is this concept that a lot of people are questioning what the nature of this realm really is versus the old idea for most people was depending on what religion they subscribe to, but still, this is earth, this is the planet earth that was created by God, and this is where we live. And most religions say we live here once and then we either ascend into a realm that they call heaven or descend into a realm that's called hell. So the biggest question in most people's minds is, what is this construct really? Is it an artificial construct? Is it something that was constructed? Is there a grid that's overlaid? What is your perception of this realm?
Okay. I want to just, I know there's a big question there, but I want to go right into, hell, what you just said there.
Go
Um,
ahead. Go ahead.
Now, the what people consider hell, or let's just say sin. So, like, because this is going to tie all together, because a lot of what is written about in text are true, but there's also a lot of distortion and fear as well. And that's something that took me, like, a long time to really deprogram myself from the things that I had belief structures around, from seeing it multiple times. And it's, seeing it once, I'm like, no, that can't be true. Seeing it twice, like, I don't believe that. And then seeing it multiple times, it's just like, okay, that's what it is. Now, when you look at the hell, now you can experience hell on the other side. You could experience hell here. And all this is sinning on yourself of stepping out of unconditional love. So when you step out of unconditional love for yourself, you sin on yourself, because what you're doing, it's no different from me saying water is good for your body. Drink water. If you drink oil, it's going to kill the body. So if you drink oil, you're sinning on your body. You're destroying yourself from within. So when you look at hell here, even frequency as well, what you speak dictate how your cells express themselves. And this has been proven in the water experiment, the rice experiment, where they could structure and program water, structure and program things within water like rice to either ferment or decay based off what they speak. Your body's the same thing. So they put people here in such a stressful uh, 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 stressful state all the time. And stress in and of itself will kill you. People die from stress. Love does the opposite. So the way the current structure and the system set up is to get you into survival mode, put you in the state of panic, stress, fear, anxiety, and all of those things are sinning on yourself, on the body, and therefore destroying the body in a cannibalistic way. And then you are actually living in a hellish experience in physical density. Now, even when you're on the other side too, I've experienced this myself due to my own fears. All right. So when you're on the other side, you could create your own hellish experience by stepping out of unconditional love. Because then when you step out of that on the other side as well, then you start experiencing the opposite of your divinity, which is hell. So yeah.
That's perfectly put. It's literally, the absence of love, the absence of wisdom is hell, no matter what realm
Mm,
you are in.
absolutely.
So I appreciate that answer. So now to the second part of that question.
Yeah.
What is, according to your experience, what are we living in and who created it?
So we All right, and I'm just gonna go right into this and say it because the thing what I just said, not speaking truth, it would be, you know, bad
Hell.
on my
It's a sin. It's a sin. It is a
yeah,
sin against ourselves. Yes, I agree.
yeah. So, and I'm not religious, but I'm going to tell you that based off what I've seen many times, is that this place there is a face to this realm. You could say there is a dome, a firmament above. That's how I've been shown many times. And now when people think of what the text has said in the Bible of the earthly realm, the firmament, waters above, water below, like that's what I've seen. And that's what I've seen many times, and how the celestial bodies are all fixed points within the firmament above us. And these fixed points, stars, are actually dimensional portal access points. Same reason why certain structures, pyramids were aligned to them, because we have a total of 12 realms here. You could say 12 heavens, and the 13th being the container. And how they were able to bring down entities, let's say the seraphims, the angels, the realm of Eden beings, the angelic beings, is that they were pulling them down from the higher realms into the physical realm here. So this isn't created by one individual based off what I have been shown, just off experience. It's not one individual called God, because we are all that. We on the other side are all gods, because we create through our will, our spoken word, and we create constructs based off what our soul desires to experience due to its own fulfillment and joy, because there's no limitation placed on you ever on the other side. You cannot have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation. And that is you. And your consciousness is a dictator of all things, the universe around you. You see? So when you look at the structure of what I said before, as above, so below, as within, so without, the 13 strand DNA or 12 strand DNA, there are 12, 13 um, beings co-collaborating, creating this, or have created it. Just like on the other side, you have a collection of souls that create something, one soul that creates something. That's what I was shown. So what people call God are a more than one beings that have created this experience. Now, but I'll just say God in simpler terms. God created it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there is a firmament above us. This is a construct. And when people think of what they consider the firmament, the plane, they think of, well, this is something that's, they think of space, and they think of what they've been told about space. And what space is literally uh dimensional access points. It's just portals. That's all space is. It's just you're bending space and time, basically, when you go into space to access a dimension or to access another realm. And the bending of space and time could also be done through accessing the 12 stargates, which is through the cores of the realm. You could say the sun is a stargate as well, because the sun is not a gassy ball in space. And when you ask yourself, where does light come from? What is actual light? Where does light come from? And people don't really ask these questions. When you think of where light is coming from the sun anyways. The sun's light is coming from bridging of multiple dimensions and realms in bringing that light through. This is why it's a considered a stargate as well. Even yourself right now, you are the creator of light. When you close your eyes, you're in darkness, and it's only when you start to imagine something you birth light into creation. We are literally the creators of light. And even God said that as well in the Bible. Light was always secondary. He created the earthly realm. He
Mhm.
said, "Let there be light." So, I, it's very close to what the Bible said. In short, yeah.
So, in your perception, this is not a technological simulation, or there is no matrix grid, as it has been described, and as even as I have described it myself. Have you ever experienced that, or are you saying no? This isn't an accurate depiction.
Okay, so you could say that this is a simulation. If it's just another way of saying it, you could say that, yes. But but then everything everything. All right. So when you
Think
step out
think
of the
Matrix. Think Matrix as a
yeah.
maybe comparable analogy. The movie. Most people have seen it. Based off of that, is there any truth to that?
Well, yes, there is. Yeah. Now, this is why I said it's. I don't necessarily call it simulations. If that's what people call it, that's fine. But because a simulation implies that it wasn't created from a source of something. So everything in all creation comes from the source of from a place of unconditional, because that's what creates everything around us. Love. So in short, we'll say it's a simulation, which is not is it's that is still correct, because once you step out of the construct completely and you see the multitude of constructs all over the place based off souls creating those, you could say they are all simulations outside of the base reality. You
Are you
see?
talking are
Yeah.
you saying that everything that is sort of a physical expression, something that you can actually see in so thoughts that manifest as form, and you can see it, and have it has the appearance that you can touch and smell, that, we could call everything a simulation, other than when you are in the field of all that is, where there is no form, that would be prime reality and everything else is a simulation. Is that how you distinguish it?
Well, based off the terminology that you're using, yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. I don't like using that, because that implies that it's you are in a state of a being created and don't have the free will and the ultimate authority, your soul divinity here right now, that you're simulated in here. But your soul has the ability to deprogram certain things and even access outside of here. So I just call these constructs. They are created constructs with a certain template rule set of experience, in another form simulation. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm not a
Mm.
big fan of the term simulation either. And in this is my perception based on my experiences, that I have never felt trapped in here.
No, because you're not. Yeah.
Yes, but I also didn't feel, so my memory of where I was before I came here is vastly different than what I've heard from many others. So, maybe that's why I don't feel this way. What I do feel is that this realm, as it presents itself to us right now, is not conducive to who we are, in essence, and it's basically hindering us as best as it can from expressing that and experiencing that. So there's a lot of struggle for a lot of people going on to actually access what you call divinity. So who or what, if it isn't ourselves, which is part of the problem, but who or what is manipulating, messing with the energy here and messing with us?
Okay, so when th- this realm was created, or the universe, the construct, this universe particularly, was created to experience that which we're not on the other side. So having the illusion of enslavement, imprisonment, control over the physical suit that we're using, um, Now, when you create something like that, you also have the unexperienced, which is therefore the unforeseen events, which is where we are now. So, when you could get a soul, this is how powerful we all are, but are unaware of it. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, anyways, you know, is to empower the soul. When you could get a soul, trying to, I may take this in another direction too. For instance, when someone has a near death experience or an out of body state, if they have a strong belief system of something imprisoning them, they will temporarily experience that because they'll be creating that through their own will until they break free from the fear, and then they'll access what, they'll break through and the doors will open up to them again. So when you could get a soul here through manipulating the body and making it create what they want you to create or believe in, fear, anxiety, panic, all these things, what you end up doing is you end up putting that frequency into the field. And when that frequency is in the field, you suppress, you could say, the consciousness from fully waking up, because people are all accessing the field all the time, 24/7, completely unaware of that's what they're accessing. And this is where they just do things that are stepping out of love and all those things, because you could say they're in a place of not knowing what they're doing. Yeah. But the people that know this place know exactly what they're doing. And those are the people that, even when they leave here, are going to have to answer for themselves, because the unforgivable sin is a sin that you cannot forgive yourself for. And they are going to face themselves. The judgment is on themselves. So the ones that have manipulated the stress and all these things on souls that know what they're doing are doing it to basically, you could say, harvest the energy of the soul, of what it actually is, how it can create with thought forms and everything. The harvesting that field of energy to create what they want for themselves.
So
I- in
basically,
sh- in short,
sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, in short, that's what it is. But when I say things like that, I just want to give it context too. When I say things like that, people will step into disempowerment. Well, I can't do anything about it, but you can, because the only thing that they have is fear on you. That's the only thing.
Well, that's exactly what I was what I was going to say is I think what you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, that your journey had to involve a realization of what is currently happening in this realm and how it is happening, and how, you could also say that this artificial stuff, like you say, the straw man, the legal system, and the sort of as an artificial adapter that takes the living man and woman into a dead system, all of that. I think without discovering the truth about what people are born into right now, it's very difficult. Basically, without seeing that side, it's very difficult to see the other side. At least in my and your experience, it was like that. So for me, it's the consciousness that is trying to manipulate us is simply so inverted or so far from source that it has forgotten what it is, and is now basically like a leech, using what we have for its purposes.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that how you would see it?
yeah. So yes, so I would phrase it differently, but
Sure.
yeah. Um, so what has happened, and this is why I said before, like I want to say these three things because it will give context to what I'm saying. You can't have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation. You cannot have unconditional love with a judgment, nor can you have, or the other thing is consciousness dictates the universe. The universe does not dictate consciousness. Now, the reason why I say that and I phrase those three things, even though I repeat them on many different platforms, is because when you look at the unconditional love side of those things and the ultimate expression, you can never stop a soul from what it desires to do in its full divinity, you can never stop that. When a soul makes a choice, you could stop the body, but when the soul makes a choice, nothing in all creation could stop that from being so. Same with every other soul as well. So when you have souls here, like I said before, with the stepping out of love and creating their hell in the physical body, sitting on their body, or even stepping out of love on the other side. You could say they're creating their hellish experiences or hellish universes and constructs and creation because they're creating from a place outside of love. So when people have come here in a state of love, and some people have fallen so far out of love that they have turned into what's considered a demon. So right now you could have demons all around you, but you're unaware of it, or demons, or you could be aware of it, but a demon could be someone in your life right now that has fallen out of love, and they're out of love towards you. So then they're becoming demon-ish out of love, so they're expressing hateful things to you, etc. And it's not so these individuals have fallen so far out of that state where they are expressing from a place outside of love, expressing from a place of anger, fear, and projecting that to individuals, control. And it's only when you enough souls are able to hold a high frequency of the spark of creation of all things of unconditional love is where you start tuning that other soul that has fallen back into stepping or standing for the second time again and realizing who they are. And this is even, I know this sounds new agey. I don't want to take it there, but even when you look at the most wicked things that have been done, it, the beings there are still loved. And I know that may be a massive disagreement with other people, and people may disagree with that, and that's okay. But the only example I could give you is or do you have a child?
Yes,
Oh,
3.
okay. So let's just say I'll just say you have two. So we'll have one of your children, number A. He is, let's just say, the best. He acts in love, in accordance to love, all those things. And then child B, let's just say he has fallen so far down out of that where he's actually expressing himself in the control structures, fear, hurting another being. You never lose your love for those two children. You may disagree with the other, but you still love him. And
This is not, it's not hard for me to comprehend that.
uh,
I've done deep trauma healing work on both sides as a facilitator and first, of course, as someone who, experienced the healing. And in that field, you can only do that when you go to source, in the presence of source. Otherwise, there's no healing. And in the presence of source, there never in that healing work is judgment. It just doesn't exist in that work, or you're not doing the work. So that is not hard for me to comprehend. I think we're talking about different spheres of experiences. Like, I'm sure, as a man, as a human being, in the face of injustice or violence, you will interfere in the way that you feel
mm,
it's necessary.
absolutely.
And I think that those are different spheres we talk about, and we kind of need to. It's easier for people to hear what you just said when we can sort of set the framework. Now, you talk about, or we talk about the bodies, we talk about the soul, and then indigenous cultures and the Gnostics, for example, also talked about spirit. So where do you see is there a difference between spirit, soul, or is it sort of interchangeable in your perception?
Okay. I will answer that, but I want to go back to what you were saying too, and I'll allude to that.
All of the
So,
above, my friend.
yeah, okay. What you were saying too with and what I was talking about, love and those things as well. A lot of people take this as okay, well, that's what he said. So that means let the wickedness be done to me here. And that's not what I'm saying at all. Because you could protect, and you could say hold the full armor of your divinity here right now in a state of love, of protection to self and others. That's it. You see. So it's
Oh
not,
yeah.
yeah, it's not allowing the evil things to be done because you have to be in a state of unconditional love. So therefore, you need to allow them to do that upon you. That's not at all. Yeah, because then that's
We're in
taken
full
out of love for
agreement.
self.
In
Yeah,
full agreement, yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to make that, just
Thank you.
state that, so then people can't take that and run away with it in another direction of, you know,
Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah. Um, Now, to the spirit thing. Now I've it's just the soul. And so I'll talk about it from my first-hand experience, and then I'll what people are calling spirit. So your soul is here right now in the physical body. And when you come out, your soul comes out. Your soul is physical, more physical than the physical body. You are, it's all the pleasures of physicality with no limitation. So what people call spirit is is another version of your soul records, in a sense. So the spirit, the terminology there is is accessing a portion of a record within the soul. So right now, we are all the fullest expressions of ourselves, the highest versions of ourselves here right now, in forgetfulness of that. And it's when you come out near death or out of the body and you see yourself again, you start understanding why you act the certain ways you act, or do things a certain way you do things, based off all of the other experiences that you had accumulating to this being that you are right now. And so you could, the longer that you're on the other side too, certain memories start to seep through. I remember having a memory of experience of even what people call Egypt time. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, that's why I still do things the way I do things here right now, because of that time. So it's all here. We're just in forgetfulness of that. So a spirit is just another form of someone saying a particular record or a particular soul experience, pretty much. Yeah.
So speaking of forgetfulness,
Mm,
what is the purpose? And you said the first time around when you were in that in on the other side and you communicated with Celeste, you did start forgetting. And then you said you started remembering the more out of bodies experiences you had. So did that completely go away, the forgetfulness? Or and what is the purpose of this veil of forgetfulness?
okay. So in the based off what I've been told, and the beings that I've contacted so far, is that this was created to experience that which we are not. So that's the first thing, because once you're outside of here, full stop, you when you create a construct or a universe for yourself, you do not step in that in forgetfulness. You step in it with your full divinity, full memory of everything. Always. This is the only place where you step into where you are forgetting and experiencing the opposite of what it's like not to be that.
You said you did forget, like that being said you would forget, like Celeste
Mm.
said, but then once you started going back more often, you remembered again and you quit forgetting. Is that so now when you travel out of body, when you go on the other side and when you come back, so you're not forgetting anymore?
No, 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 not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only thing that I could say, the reason why I forgot that experience, was because some version of myself uh, made me forget. Because if I was shown the path, like this path, exactly how it was laid out, I don't think I would actually have been walking this path that I am, unless it was done in a very organic way. And because it the reason why I became public or started doing this is because I got triggered. Well, got triggered many times, but the most important one for me, where I was just like, okay, this is my whole life. From the time I'm here, this will be the only thing that I do until I leave, because what I know what's going to be how I will judge myself when I leave here. And that's not on anybody else besides myself. So I know what I need to do as a soul. So when I step out of here, I know that I've done everything to the best of my ability and integrity for myself and the information and others to do what I need to do. And that came from an experience with my uncle, which was he basically came out of my body consciously, And he took me to a space, and in that space, he said he was showing me certain things that I was withholding love from other people, withholding love from myself. And he wasn't judging me on anything. But this is why I said before, you will create your own hell here and there if you're not in that state of love. And when I say little bits of love, they weren't like these massive things. They were just like, little things that I was doing that I knew I was in the state of knowing what I was doing that brought me to my knees in pain. It was the greatest pain I've ever felt of judgment on myself. And and it was because I was in a place of knowing that which I was doing. And the people that don't know what they're doing, they don't understand it, they won't necessarily have that weight on their shoulders like that. But it's when you know what you're doing and you're walking that path in knowing what you're doing and stepping out of integrity. I I don't wish that on anybody to reflect on that. And that's why I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do for now
Well,
on.
that you
Yeah.
just defined hell, basically. You just defined
Mm.
the experience of hell. So you are teaching others, and what would you say is your main purpose, your main intention in teaching people to consciously have these out of body experiences? And what do you see in the people whom you are teaching? What is changing?
So my purpose in teaching it or showing people this is to give them the tool to do it themselves. That's basically it. Because I was actually battling with, all right, well, what's the best way to share this information? I was like, what is the best way that I could do this? Do I just constantly just talk about the other side? And it took me a while to figure out. I was like, you know what? The best way to do it is to actually someone to see it for themselves. And then at that point, like all I need to do is say, just do this, do this, do this. See it for yourself, and you will come to the same conclusion eventually. Because I don't necessarily even have to go down certain paths or say certain things because everybody will see it anyways. And that's why I've been doing it. And a lot of the people that have shared success, yeah, it's changed their life. So that's
Yeah,
mm,
I've watched some of those testimonials on your channel, and
yeah.
they're very interesting to watch. Did any of you students that frequently travels, if you want to call it that, come to any different conclusions or has seen things that you haven't seen?
Not yet. No, not that I've shared, or the countless of written testimonials that I get as well through email and stuff like that. So what people are, the differences here is, like I said before, when people are accessing thought forms in time.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's going to be the massive difference between individual experience, because people are going to say, "Oh, I've accessed something like this," and then when they look into it, they're like, "Oh, that was a time event, or that was actually what that person was thinking when they start asking questions." But everything has been pretty accurate, to to what I've stated. Um,
So right now we live.
And hold on, I just want to say this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is why the first thing that I did for myself to make sure that what I was seeing was accurate is, like I said before, I did an experiment on a whiteboard. Okay, so
Hmm.
because I just want to say this as well. For years of doing this, I went into a place of saying, no, this is not true. I'm hallucinating. This is not real. So just to give people context, I was there, and I was there for a long time, just as much in fear as well. And so I started to do the whiteboard experiment, numbers, to see, okay, well, if I'm seeing this accurately and I'm in another room and I could target that and see that, then I must be seeing what's there, and
Well,
then
then
just to,
that would
yeah,
I would call it an objective truth or an objective reality, objective fact. Yeah.
yeah.
So right now we live in a worldview, that is we're this is a spinning ball and it's racing through space, and
Mm.
we're these material beings, and there's one life, and what do they say, YOLO and FOMO and all that crap, basically, that this entire existence is based on. What what is the purpose to um bring the knowledge that you have found as an objective truth to the people, and what would change if the world thought of this realm and people of themselves the way that you see yourself in this realm? What do you think would happen?
World will change instantly. Yeah. Well, so people right now are in a state of believing that the universe dictates consciousness, and they're living their life as a very materialistic way, meaning that this is all there is. So when they realize that their soul is who they actually are, and they live on forever in the divinity of this creation and every other soul in love, it would end all man-made constructs, all man-made beliefs, all man-made control structures to enslave the physical body in the expressions of the soul here in physical density.
I'm with you know, I'm with this thought. I mean, this is literally what I think all our what we're combining our energies and intentions for. So, with regards to, disclosure and what, what a lot of people are talking about, other beings, other life forms, aliens, extraterrestrials, those are all terms that don't really, describe maybe what we're talking about. But what is your experience? How many other worlds are there like this one or similar to this one? And what role does that play for us?
Two versions of this. On the other side, there are similarities to other creations like this, but like I said, you're in your full divinity, your soul, so you're not in forgetfulness or any of those things. Um, so a lot of people state that the bodies are created in the image of God, but it's actually your body's created in the image of your soul blueprint. So when you look at beings here within this construct universe, you all of the races, all of the kingdoms are true and accurate. The the ones that look like lions are true. The grays, what people call the humanoid aliens as well, the seraphims, the angels, which is only one form of angels, like what people call the original angels. You have the beings of Eden as well, what people consider the god beings. All those races are true, and they're here. Some of them are here physically. This is where you get the Antarctic Treaty as well. A lot of the races, some of the races are there, and this is where they also hide certain things within that. And I've targeted this place as well, Antarctica, a lot, where they have hidden so much there. There's actually still to this day in Antarctica some of the original bodies. Original, you could say the original giant bodies are the original angel bodies. Yeah. And and so it took me a while to understand, well, how are the bodies still there? Where's the energy, where's the soul? In back in the halls of Amente, which is, it's a halls of information and also a period of time that took place here, they had a organic technology where they were able to put somebody on what people consider med beds now, but an organic bed, and they were able to project their soul just with a snap of like a frequency generator through that bed, soul coming up into another form, into another body. So a lot of these original bodies have done that into humanoid form. And then this is where they're in stasis and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of that. Everything that people hear about with the contact of races, a lot of them have been here for a very long time. And when you hear about the gods coming to the earthly realm, or the angels coming through the earthly realm, all they're doing is they are opening up certain stargate dimensional space stargates to travel from the higher realms down into this realm, so they appear. And this was, you see it all through the text, where these beings they held more light around them, because all they were doing was they were traveling down from different realms here. That's pretty much it. Yeah. And this is where you get space travel. Space
Yeah.
travel, people think about, in space and stuff like that. It's not like that at all. Space travel is just, you are teleporting through portals to different locations within the entirety of the universe. It's not a vacuum either. So yeah.
Which makes a lot more sense anyways.
Like there are like a lot of these technology, other forms of technology are just replicas essentially of what we we're trying to replicate that now because they were using all this organic technology, and all these beings were so much more intelligent. That's where you go into the what they call castles and things like that. People think those are medieval things, and how they built the pyramids were medieval. They were just highly advanced people that that knew the design of this very construct that we live in. And this is what I was talking about, the races. Let me go down here. These are the ones that I've seen, like all the races that I've seen. So I've seen the Greys. Um, what I've seen with the Greys. There are three three different forms of Greys that I've come in, or four different forms of Greys that I've come in contact with. The tall ones, the muscular ones, almost look like they're bodybuilders. Short Greys and the black Greys. Seeing those, and this is where a lot of things, they get all this stuff through, put it through movies and messages, and this is where you may lose people, but all this is very, very true. And a lot of the information now is coming out through whistleblowers, and they're also presenting this information through, it's all going to get released. It already is, for what's happening now, because people are finally ready for it, I guess.
I know that the future is not set in stone ever. I mean, because we are creators, and so
Mm.
our level of consciousness, our intention, dictates where this is going. But is there a tendency that you can see, and are you being shown these things as to where the future is going, where the human family is going, and what we can sort of expect in the next years, decades, maybe?
Yeah, I'll share that too. Yeah, definitely will. I just want to show you the rest of these.
Yeah.
But what people call dragon races, those were a true entity, and this is also in the Chinese text as well. But these were highly intelligent beings, and this is where you get like the dinosaurs. They're actually, part of the dragon races. Or one of the originals, and you have the ones that I've contacted are the whites, the black ones as well. You also go into the original size of the original human. Right now, like I said, things have been so, there's different. Right now we have the human race, and so we have blacks, Caucasians, etc., but there's more to the race of humans than what we've been told, and a lot of them are a lot larger and bigger than what we've been told as well, and I've seen them as well. This is where you go into the fossilization of certain things. And so I've seen Anunnaki beings, I've seen the angels. Now the angels are what first time I seen one of the angels, they are exactly what they people think they are, the white wings and stuff like that. These are the original angels, but I've also seen the different forms of them, like these beings as well. I've seen the Garden of Eden when I was in Realm 4, which is the Garden of Eden. Well, the protectors of the tree of life there or look very similar to what I'm sharing right here. And people would say, "Oh, this is demonic or whatever," but this is no. These are the beings that are actually protecting the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, part of the fourth heaven. Um, I've seen the seraphim, which is these ones are in. I don't know. Those would be what I've written down there. They would be eight, so that's the closest to, you could say, the gods as well. Yeah, what people call gods or the Olympians. Like we have a race of beings that look like god-like Olympians. I've seen those races, the hybrid races, these races. Seeing these races here, what was in
So
them.
why do we don't not see them on a daily basis anymore?
Yeah. I'll stop sharing my screen, and I just wanted to show you
No,
all
no,
the
no.
ones
You
that.
can keep showing, keep showing. I'm just those are questions that pop into my head, as you're showing
Okay.
them.
Yeah, yeah. No, no need to share anymore though. I'll just stop real
Okay.
quick. The reason why I wanted to share that is just to show you the things that I have come in contact with. Now, this may go over not your audience, but other people. But the so this goes into, a lot of them are here, not all of them. Now, a lot of them are here because they've think about what I said before, how they come down through stargates from higher realms here. So some of them have been here since the beginning, and some of those races have not. So what you will, and things that I've seen, I'm going to say this very lightly at the same time, so it's not putting people in a state of hope and then hope harvesting and all these things, but the all these races will be presented at some point in time. And this is what I was shown with the Celeste experience from 16, where the disclosure of all things, and that's not just the contact with races, but that's what space really is. That's what this place really is, the firmament above. That's disclosure on all fronts and freeing humanity again, fully and completely. That's where this goes. That's the You could say that is one of the inevitable event markers where everything is revealed again. And so you're sort of getting this through um a lot of different, you call it the art of war, essentially.
Mhm.
So how do you come to this state where everybody wakes up again? Well, you need to start saying things in a way and doing things in a way which brings the soul back into complete empowerment and free again, out of fear and out of all these things. um the I believe the first race of beings that the government will announce are the ones that look exactly like us. um I think those would be the first ones that are announced, and people will see that the beings that look just like us, some of them are actually participating in the government, and some of them have also been participating in a lot of the control structure here as well. So this is where you get the fallen ones. This is where you get the fallen angels, because, like I said before, just because they're in a different form and due to the nature of this construct doesn't necessarily mean that they cannot express themselves in the way stepping outside of love and etc. So, yeah. Mm.
When you're on the other side, can you look into the construct, Earth, if you will, in detail, or you see it from the outside?
Could I look into the construct in detail?
Yeah, just like you were, I don't
Mm.
know, like looking through a microscope, like, basically seeing things for what they are rather than what they appear to be.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So that's what. So when you so how you leave the universe is to through the 12th stargate. Now, to give an understanding of this, let's just say 12 realms, 12 total stargates, connection points to each realm, and within each one of these realms you have kingdoms. And this is where you get the realm of Eden, the kingdoms of the heavens. I've been able to see this from the outside and also see the layers of the realms, you could say, stacked on each other just through different frequencies, and see that. And like I said before, I've targeted certain things here first before, to make sure, through the number, seeing people making a coffee, seeing what they're doing. There was someone that shared their success in achieving the out of body state. Her name is Kelly. She basically came out of her body and was able to see her son that was in the military, still in the military, see exactly where he was, seen the coffee shop, saw what he was thinking as well, called him up and said, "Oh, I've seen this," and it was verbatim everything she saw. So it's the reason why I bring that up, because it's not just necessarily me, but yeah, you are able to see very accurate to detail things, because when you're in the soul out of the body, you're not doing this in a dreamlike state. You are everything that you think right now, everything of who you are, your beingness comes out. And it's so much you that when you come out, you look at your soul and you're like, wow, because your soul carries a temporary imprint of the physical body. And you start looking at yourself, well, wow, I'm actually out. You look back on the bed, you see your body, and there's nothing changing. Like there's no difference in the way you think, the way you are. And then it's when you start to access and you're like, oh, that's like I've stated in the beginning of this, or in the middle of this where the memories start to return of why you do things the way you do things. But to answer that, yeah, I've access pretty accurate to detail, seeing it as if I'm physically there.
So, Darius, in
Mm.
your perception and your experience, when we talk about the idea of timelines, and this is, maybe just a conceptualization so we can understand things better, but there was a perception for a lot of people that we had been on a, even self-destructive, but a definitely destructive timeline, destructive to the spirit, destructive to the bodies and everything. And that there is, and there's, it's not, you can't negate that, nobody can, that there is an awakening happening. The question is, have we reached sort of a critical mass And in your experience and what you are seeing, is the timeline quote unquote shifting?
Yeah, so just to answer directly is so they have time could be manipulated, yes, but they can only manipulate it in terms of trying to delay something. But there are fixed things that will happen regardless of how many times they try to do things, and it's just always going closer and closer. So they have, you could say, prevented certain things. Let's just go back into the COVID thing. That was a time, when you look into it, that was a time when everybody was supposed to fully awaken. People are awakening and
Yeah, it
just
was a
seeing
very right
everywhere.
before that, we were at the
Mhm.
highest level of average consciousness we've been in forever, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that was part of the bridging between all of what was supposed to happen is all of these things were supposed to turn back on, and people were supposed to see, whether that's throughout a body or just things becoming more revealed to them and knowing again, just understanding, and that's where we were. And so, what do they do instantly? Fear, because it shuts and suppresses everything. Even when you're in a state of stress, it actually your vision just goes like just shuts off things.
I
And
mean,
so
even for us, just being in the field, we were not fearful, we knew what was going on, but we had to focus. Our
mm,
work had we had to reshift our work to calming people down.
yeah.
Rather than rising, we just had to manage a situation, right? So even for us, the work started to be different. And even we had to sort of pull ourselves down a little bit into a more denser sphere and go, okay, we're going to manage this first, and then we can move forward again. Was that the same for you?
I was I sort of experienced it like I was in my isolated bubble, at the time, because at that time specifically is when I was doing like, oh my god, like out of bodies all the time. I was like, oh, is that actually true? I was like going there, targeting locations to see if things were actually happening the way they were saying. I was like, yep, that's true. That's true. That's not true. That is true. Um, but yeah, yeah, it was very interesting. But where we are now, like I said, this has no choice. Humanity in this construct, the way that it was created, in a sense, things have no choice but to unfold and reveal themselves, and it's going to. That's something that you know. I know that people may take this and bait me to then lead me down somewhere else, and you see what you said, but 100% with my full soul, my full knowing in who I am, of who I know I am, and the things that I do here reflect on me on the other side as well. I put my hand up in full knowing that this place is the the set fixed marker is for every soul to stand again, to fully see it again. And that's what I was showing at 16. And when I look at the things that have led up to that and the certain actions that I've taken and other people have taken, we've all taken, is all leading up to the what people call an event. And when I say an event, people may want to step back and do nothing, and they say, oh, I'll just wait for it to happen. But that's a thing why I forgot at 16, because if I was showing this, I was like, oh cool, I'm just going to sit back and do nothing.
And you would have never
you know
probably made it to the event because your journey wouldn't have you wouldn't have walked it. You wouldn't have done it.
yes,
You wouldn't have
yes, yeah.
it's
So
it's only in a
mm,
human realm that is paradox. It's not really paradox. Only in a human realm that is a paradox. And that's why sometimes, I rather shut up than say something that I know, because I sometimes can sense that's going to be the reaction. Oh, cool. So then never mind, then I can just eat popcorn and watch my show.
well, it's like the phrase that I use, um uh y- trying to force somebody awake would actually do more harm than good, because it's like telling a blind person or asking a blind person, what does the color blue look like? They're not going to be able to tell you. They'll see again. They'll eventually see again. They'll see all things again, but people have been temporarily blinded. And this is why I said before, it's, once people realize of that which has been done to them consciously, you'll have the mass awakening will just be, there's no returning back after this, is what I'm saying. Like, this is where you're getting, when the disclosure of, let's just say, contact happens, like, this is where things are just going to start to really unfold. And you will even start to get some of the what people consider biblical beings presenting themselves as well.
Well, there's a million directions we could go, but I think I'd rather extend an open invitation for you to come back and do this again. But before
Okay.
before the, so we bring this conversation to an end, I would like to ask you, Darius, where can people get in touch with you, learn what you're teaching, and experience out of body journeys for themselves?
Okay. I appreciate that. But I would just, anybody that wants to know what I do, don't necessarily, um, I don't necessarily like the promotion at the end and stuff. Just have people read my mission statement. That's all I want. Read the mission statement. If you align with that vision and that purpose, then become a part of the movement. You can look at the work that I do and what I do. That's very important. Yeah.
We'll put the link in a description. I love how you put that. My wife and I used to do a few retreats every year, and
Mhm.
literally, in my own words, this is what I said: is, you listen, if your spirit says yes,
Mm.
if you feel an inner knowing this is it 100%, we'd love to have you. If not, no hard feelings. But it's not like we're gonna you want to promote this as a sales event. I know exactly what you're saying. So
No,
we're
no,
gonna
no,
link
no.
we're gonna link to your mission
Yeah.
statement on your website. People can
Mm.
also look up your YouTube channel. I think it's under Darius J. Wright, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah.
We put the links there. And what's a good way? Do you have any social media? What's a good way for people to keep up with your work?
So I'm actually off social media. I don't have any
Good for you.
yeah, if someone sees a social media account, it's not me. The only thing that I have is, the only form that I like to keep in contact is just my site, interview platforms, and just sharing up to date information, whether if that's, things that people experience, because I try to detach from it, and I've done so very, very successfully from it, because I just want to focus on the mission. That's it. Like I said in the beginning, my Uncle Bob told me, and also things that I've connected through, which is what they consider, I'm going to say this in quotation so it doesn't sound egotistical, but the great work, which is waking people up to the other side. Because once they wake up to that, they wake up to everything. So that's, anything other than that, dabbling in social media, dabbling in this, just takes me further away from that. Things like this, having you to share things with, that supports, because then this spreads, you spread it, you become a part of it, and you're already doing it. You're already waking people up, whether if you realize it or not, which you do realize it. But I'm just saying, and that's the whole point for me. That's all I want.
I love that, and I think you're part of a group of people on Earth today that live that without compromise. The way that you express it, which I think is the only way to go from here forward. Right? All the compromising, all the which is always a fear thing either way. So I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time today, for sharing what you do and your experience. And I would encourage people to go over to your website, take a look around, and just feel your way through it. But thank you for your time today, Darius. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it, man. Yes.
And Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you, we appreciate you, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon.